I know it's going to sound a little cheesy, but I think my parents are really my role models. It's just how they govern themselves in life, or how they walk through life, just treating those with kindness, and then their work ethic and what they've instilled in me and my brother. So, yeah.
When I started thinking about it, I have to admit, Samuel L. Jackson, because he was willing to take whatever roles he could get to keep his career going, and now his career just has flourished. And I thought, that is really some work. He was willing to do what he needed to do to make a career in acting, and he was able to do it. So I like that about him.
I think Ava DuVernay right now. She is able to do so much, and she is able to be creative. I just saw Origin, the movie that is based on the research that was done for the book Cast. And she uses such creativity in developing that story that I just am consumed with her right now.
The first role model I ever had was Paul Laurence Dunbar. When growing up, I don't remember exactly why, except I think my father mentioned to me, because I was going to an audition. And I said to him, what can I do? I don't know anything about monologues. I don't know anything about scripts whatsoever, but I'm trying out for this show. I'm trying out for the drama department. And he said, well, there's this poem he used to do when he was a kid called See My Honey Home Last Night, Jump Back, Honey, Jump Back. Held her hand and squares it tight, jump back, honey, jump back, home. Jump back, honey, jump back. Heard her sigh, a little sigh, seen a light gleam from her eye, and from her lips, oh shoot, I want to say from her lips came a lullaby, but that's not it. From her lips came a little sigh, jump back, honey, jump back. And there's more to it than that. So that person who only lived to be, I think, 34 years old, born in 1874, died in 1906 in Dayton, Ohio. That was my role model for poetry, for lyricism, for a Black person in the arts.
I think it was just, I've always loved it ever since I was little. I started when I was in a production of Oliver at my aunt's high school. She was a teacher up in Syracuse, where I'm from, and they knew I just loved to perform and sing and just be a ham, and they put me in Oliver, and I just remember singing Food, Glorious Food, and Who Will Buy, and I was wearing this beautiful yellow dress, and I was like, I want to do this all the time. So, yeah.
Actually, some friends in college who always sung. I've sung since I was a little girl, but I didn't do acting until I got into college, when some friends invited me to audition with them for something called College Night at the University of Montevallo, where I'm an alum, and I was like, what is this? It's student-run, student-led productions where the school splits into colors and has musical theater competition against each other, and one side wins, either purple or gold. And 2024 Gold Side, GV, won last night doing this. But they convinced me to audition for a show, oddly enough, that did not have a part for a person of color in it when originally written, but they asked me to audition, I auditioned, they decided to cast me and wrote a role into the show for me, and I got hooked on theater and then started doing main stage stuff there, and I've been doing theater since. So
I was a teenager, and I saw the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman, and Cecily Tyson was amazing, and she was able to be this little old woman and convince me that she was, and I was taken with making magic like that. I wanted to make that kind of magic.
I think I just always liked it. It was one of the things that I had in common with my mother, I'd say, generally speaking, because whenever we were watching TV or watching a movie at home, not in public, whenever there was somebody on the TV or on the screen and one of us was there and did not know the name of the other person, we would scream for either myself, my mother would scream Chris, or I would scream Mom, and whatever we were doing, and especially as a little boy, you know, if your mother or your parents scream for you, chances are you're pissed off, you know, you're really upset, you're like, oh my God. But if it was about knowing the name of some star, I ran down the steps and we were engaged in that moment. So I think I got that sense that my mother really liked that. She really liked people who performed. And early on, I just got this sense of a desire to sing, and I guess just to have that approval, which came from applause. And the first time I did that was at it wasn't a community show, it was like a community lot. It was a place where there was a swimming pool, people could play chess, and I sang in the community art show, I sang Take Me Out to the Ball Game. And I think I was 9 years old, something of that sort. And I remember it being so quiet while I sang, a cappella, of course, because nobody's coming in there with computers or a boombox. But I still felt good about it. Even though to this day, I don't remember if anybody clapped or not. I just know I was there and I sang. And from that moment on, it was something I always wanted to do.
I think training, and I say training because you can be very talented, but I think an aspect of training is that understanding that you are part of a collective, that you are part of a whole. A lot of times when we rely on just pure talent, it becomes very egocentric, very almost myopic, right? And I think that to be a truly good actor, you have to be able to give of yourself and to be empathetic, right? And I think when you think it's all about my talent, it's all about me, I think that really kind of cuts your legs off as to how far you can go.
I think training, because one of the things I liked about where I went to college was I worked on learning how to act. I think it's great to have talent. My talent is singing, but it took some training for me to learn how to create a character and make that character come to life. So I think training is very important.
I think training. I think that it's great to have talent, and one needs to have talent, but I think that training allows you to develop what is the talent that you have. Training is what allows you to work through a character, work through the mechanics of the part, and I'm taken by that kind of understanding.
I think talent is really important, because if you don't have that, the training will help you. Training is important to me, and in no way do I not want to admit and want to promote training, because training will help give you, I think, the confidence when your talent does not seem to be enough, because there are a lot of talented people. But I think outside of having training, you might at times doubt when you don't get a part because somebody else gets a part, because talent is subjective. So if someone says, well, this person went to Juilliard, and this person's from New York, and this person that, and so the implication is that they have better training than you. And perhaps they do. I think that will help you feel more confident to display your talent. But if you don't have talent, I think that no matter how much training you have, that will probably come out. I just unfortunately really do believe that.
Well, as a singer, I love any musical, but I do love, I love mysteries. I directed Communicating Doors here at Colonial Players, and that was fantastic and fabulous. And I mean, I just love it all, yeah.
I will always love musicals, especially happy kind of musicals. I live for them, so that's my favorite thing to do. If it's watching stuff, actually, I'm an action junkie. I love action movies, I love action stuff, so.
I guess I would have to say all, but I think particularly comedy, and I think comedy is hard to do well without being overt and overly comedic, if you will. But I think that there's a certain subtlety that one has to have, and I appreciate comedy.
I think what I do the most, it's really, I started out doing musical comedy all the time. I think that's because I could sing. And that was what was really available for black guys. It really was like musical comedy. That's really about all we could do. There weren't too many shows where you would be the lead unless it was like a Shakespearean play and it was open to blind casting. Other than that, I'd say mostly drama is what I feel mostly that I'm drawn to when I see a part, when I see a role. That's what I think about a lot. Because comedy is so hard and so challenging and so debilitating, because in comedy you want to get that laugh, you want to hear that laugh. So you instantly know if it was a funny line and you said it and nobody laughed, oh boy, I didn't land that, it didn't work. Whereas in drama, if someone doesn't cry, maybe they're holding it in, or maybe they're just someone who's not a crier, or maybe they're just so stunned by the moment, so you don't know. But if it's a comedy and you don't hear even the slightest titter, you're like, oh Lord, they didn't get it, or I suck.
I think more of, education. I think that it's important that and it's not just when we think of education, we often think of, for children, but I think education for all, so that, you have that chance to, okay, I had this audition, why didn't I do well? Let's have some more audition workshops and talk about that. Or, training on how to really be during rehearsals, right? Like how to take notes, how to go back and rehearse on your own, things like that, so that people can develop as actors. And then the other thing that I think is important is more of a sense of community and community theater. I've been seeing a lot of people who have very large egos, and it's community theater, right? And let's get the community back into community theater. That's what I would really like to see, that just people being nice to each other, people lifting each other up, and just coming together. Because I always tell my cast that when I direct, that every show you form a family. And out of that family, you can build these lifelong relationships, and there's no need for this ego. Like, community theater is all about, you're doing it for the love of it, right? and since we're doing that, it doesn't make any sense not to really go back to that base level. Like, this is a community, we're building that family, let's work together, let's do something that we all love doing. Like, there's no need for the ego and all of that drama.
I would like to figure out a way to get more kids involved in community theaters. If there were more roles that involved a lot more children. Because I think you could really work on getting some new actors, and I think it would also work on some parents who get a little nervous about letting their child try something. But if there were really more roles and you could get more parents together to work on that, I think that would be good.
That's a great question. What would I like to see more in community theaters? I think that I'd like to see more diversity. But the question is, how do you get to more diversity? And so I think you do by, in part, education, being able to bring theater to people who need to see theater, to get the bug, get that Cicely Tyson bug, if you will. And so I would love to see community theater actually take our works into the community and do them in various places in the community, such that we reach an audience that we might not otherwise reach.
I think I'd like to see more community theaters which would put in mixed shows of mixed race categories or mixed race possibilities. Because I think it's very hard, depending on where your community is, where your area is, to put forth an all-black show if black people don't come to your theater anyway, because it's just not really going to happen. However, you have to keep doing it, and you have to keep putting on those shows, or you have to keep having shows which are traditionally, let's say, white, and then have them cast openly. So then the few people who may be in your area who are people of color, they may think, oh, maybe I can still get a part there, maybe I'll still try out. Because if you don't, the fleeting moments of the effort that you may make will be those people who had hesitancy, it will justify their hesitancy to not go out the next time, because they'll think once again, oh, well, that was just a one-off. That was the effort to try to make them look good, and it didn't work, so now they're not going to do that again. So it has to be, I'd say every single season, a show should probably have a show that at the very least could be openly cast. It differs to Raisin in the Sun, and you only have 2 people who are black who've ever been in your show. I mean, come on. So I think at least be open to blind casting.